Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the AP US Government and Politics series on AP14s. Today, we're going to be talking about the Articles of Confederation and the pros and cons of this document that is generally known to be a very unsuccessful document in US history. So, with that, let's get started. Now, in the last video on the series, we talked about the Enlightenment, and not quite the Buddha Enlightenment, but more of the intellectual Enlightenment. And we also discussed 4 different philosophers that helped develop the different ideas for the writers of the Constitution. Today, we're going to be discussing the Articles of Confederation. We're going to discuss what they were and the pros and cons of this article. So with that, let's get started by discussing that very first bullet point. What were the Articles of Confederation? Now, the Articles of Confederation were the first government of the United States. Go America. Born in 1776, although actually officially started in 1781, it died in 1787, which shows you that it didn't have a very long lifespan, generally because it was very unsuccessful. It had a couple of pros, but it had very, very large amounts of cons, which is why it didn't last more than about 6 or 7 years. Now, a couple of good things about the Articles of Confederation. It won the Revolutionary War. It was the government in charge of the United States during the end of the Revolutionary War. Although, when you go to wars, you generally give more credit to the soldiers and the generals than the government when it comes to the war. And this is probably even a better example of that. It negotiated the treaty to end the Revolutionary War with Great Britain. Again, more on the soldiers and the army because the government wasn't exactly helpful in developing the army of the United States. It did develop the Northwest Ordinance, which allowed for new states to be added into the United States. So that's one good thing about the Articles of Confederation. And the big thing that the Articles did that was very influential and carried over to the U.S. Constitution, while others did it well, this one is extremely important, and that is federalism, where states and central government shared responsibilities. Federalism is a very, very important topic, and we're actually going to discuss this in another video in the future. But for now, just understand that federalism is extremely important and relatively new compared to all of the big monarchies such as the one in Great Britain or France or in other countries in Europe. Now that we've discussed some of the good things, let's discuss some of the not so good things about the Articles. The Articles of Confederation had a very, very weak federal government, extremely weak. Even conservatives today would think that this federal government did not have much power, and conservatives today generally believe in the state governments having more power. They had no military whatsoever. They could not tax, which is an extremely bad thing, and that taxing couldn't be used to fund federal militaries. They had to fund state militias. They could not pay their debt back with the federal government. The government could control trade. The government had no federal Supreme Court. The government had no executive branch at all. It was basically just a legislative branch. The government had no national security. Currency. There was Delaware money and there was Maryland money. They could rarely amend the Articles, and it had to have unanimous support by all of the states, which goes to show that not many people are going to support that. And they needed approval from 9 out of the 13 states to pass any old legislation. That's 70%, roughly. They could not do this. They couldn't do that. The federal government didn't have much power in the Articles of Confederation, and it led to the U.S. Looking like they were going to be a failed state. So how were they to solve this problem? Well, originally, many people thought about amending the Articles of Confederation, although they couldn't do that because the Articles were so bad that trying to amend it wouldn't make anything better. So James Madison, who was a guy you might know, thought about completely rewriting the Articles of Confederation, and the delegates agreed. They started with the Constitutional Convention. And with that, that's going to end this episode. We're going to continue off based off of that Constitutional Convention. So, as always, subscribe, leave a comment, like in the section below, answer the question in the comments to see if you've understood your knowledge, and I want to know your opinion on certain matters. Thank you very much for watching this episode, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.